Oh,
I'm eating cake. Proper. That's good, man.
hello again.
Well done, kids.
It is us, Tabletop Divinitatus, and for the next instalment of coffee, tea, and cake, and all things heresy.
It's good cake, man.
Kids have made cake. Me and Matt,
Which I will happily eat.
yeah. Yeah, so we're gonna.
Right down there.
Oh, lovely jubbly.
Hey!
So today we're going to talk about army building and some like essential thoughts and things like that, aren't we? Going through the separate unit types and the areas in which they fall, and see what we find key in our building and how we put these things together. So
Just the essentials.
yeah, more of like a. This is not an instructional video by any means, and we're not telling you how to do it. This is just things that we find works for us.
Yeah, that's right.
And how we put our stuff together. So overall, I mean, first you choose your legion, don't you? Choose your legion.
Rule of cool for me.
Rule of cool, absolutely.
Definitely.
However you do it, you might be a competitive, or you might be more law-based. Well, I think we're all narrative with our
Like a bit of narrative.
selections, aren't we?
Stories.
So yeah, you always start with that, and that goes for if it's solar, mechanicum, doesn't really matter.
No.
It's whatever your starting point is. Cake.
Distracted.
Yeah, and then from there you start building, don't you? Putting stuff together.
That's it.
So how do you normally start? Do you start with a unit that you like, or do you start with a plan?
Well, I usually have to plan it obviously around what you have.
Yeah.
You have to plan it around obviously your first HQ, don't you? And your 2 troops.
Your bare essentials.
Yeah. You always start there, but then it gets fun after that, really. I think that's the first thing, isn't it? It's getting those the things that you need.
To make your list legal.
Right, I'm done with cake now.
Oh, done with cake.
Yeah.
Oh no, I've got wine. So
I'm doing all the talking then, aren't I?
basic troop. We'll start with troops then, because it's the basic bit. Your bog standard tactical. I like a bog standard tactical unit. Does the job.
I think that's very Legion specific. So, like for me, when it comes to troops, a good thing to do is think about what type of troops will give you the best bang for your buck.
Yeah.
So,
Like
despoilers, if you're an assault army, I think, having played assault armies, I think your assault armies need your despoiler troop choice.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
It's just one of the best choices for them.
And how do you like go big or go home kind of thing?
I do. Yeah. There's nothing wrong in Horus Heresy with a 20-man despoiler unit or a 20-man tactical unit, whatever.
Yeah.
So, to give you an example, you've got like Imperial Fist. You take a 20-man Imperial Fist tactical squad, and they're hitting on 2s with their bolters, and that's a lot of shots. If you're in rapid fire range, I mean, ouch. Yeah. Whereas despoilers, despoilers work well in combination with things that pin as well. So that's a cool thing to think about with assault armies. You can actually force a pinning check. They get something called Spike the Legion. So you're getting extra attacks on the charge on top of your extra attacks, on top of the 2-handed weapon extra attack.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, if you're a world eater, you suddenly get an extra attack on top of that as well. It stacks. It really stacks.
Well, like in your in the last battle report we did, the Fall of Armatura Part 1. If you haven't watched it, watch it.
Check that out.
Matt brings a massive, that 20-man despoiler squad for your word bearers.
That for me is an auto include in my word bearers, and it also synergizes well with the Dark Brethren Rite of War, because that unit's very hard to shift. Once it's weapon skill 5, movement 8,
yeah, once you can buff
and what is it, strength 5?
Yeah, we're doing
it starts getting
doing
killing,
real
very
work.
killing.
And you have to deal with it, and it's not an expensive unit, is it?
100 points, I think. So it's comparatively,
for bare bones, yeah, 100 points for 10 men.
Comparatively, it's the same as a tax squad, really. It's you're just getting a lot more on the charge. So, but that again, there's a lot of legions that are assault and that benefit from it. So, if you go for assault, I would go the despoiler route. I would not be afraid of big units, but I think Horus Heresy in general, go big or go home, is a good rule of thumb.
Like an opposite of that would be like the Iron Warriors. Their tactical squads are really effective. Give them shrapnel bolters. They hold the line very well.
Yeah.
Big units. They just and if you play something like Iron Fire, and you drop in your blasts everywhere, then those markers make them stubborn. Oh, I love it. Oh, I like a tactical squad. Easy to sort out. Easy to do. I haven't had the opportunity or been inclined to go the recon squad route. I'm not too bothered.
I love the idea of a recon Rite of War. The recon Rite of War and just having lots of plinky shots. I think that's really cool. But it's very specific, and like it might limit you a bit. I don't know. I find that quite specific. It's really cool. Maybe Raven Guard, something like that.
Yeah,
With
definitely.
lots of pinning shots, lots of sniping shots.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I can see White Scars doing work with that as well. I think the pinning and the fast and the speed.
White Scars, yeah. I mean, I'd like Games Workshop to make White Scars more viable with their bikes, because I just like, that's White Scars, let's get that going. I'd be inclined to do White Scars as well.
We'll talk about bikes later when we get to fast attack. So your basic troops then, in your basic sense, because obviously legions with their rules will unlock other units as troops and things like that.
Some Rites of War.
Yeah. We're not going to that right now.
No.
Because we'll look at more basic things.
We're just going for a nice, if you're a beginner, just starting out in the heresy, we're just going to try and give you an overview of that really, aren't we? Just things to remember when writing lists.
Yeah, so your basic troops, if you're a salty kind of army, go for your spoiler squads. If you're more a static gunliney type army and you want to hold objectives, go for tactical squads.
Yeah.
I like that. Pretty straightforward.
Yeah, even a few recon squads combined with spoiler squads would be good in terms of how they pin.
What about assault squads? How do you feel about assault squads?
Right, I've used them a few times and they are really good. Again, they're a viable option instead of despoilers.
Yeah.
Obviously assault armies, and deep striking armies are powerful. You get your interaction, don't you? You get your reaction, so you get intercepted, but you're only getting that like what 2 times in a turn. Now that does limit the amount of damage you can do. I mean, if people are spamming assault squads, none of us have done this yet because it sounds quite scary to me. But if you're just dropping in loads of assault units, with the Warhawk jump packs they can drop in, they're going to be able to charge. And I mean, dedicated assault armies are going to really smash stuff up.
Yeah, like the Blood Angels have got a Rite of War, that Day of Revelation, where it's all assault and they come in turn 1 and they're all deep striking and pretty mental.
The Alpha, what we used to call it, I remember they used to call it Alpha Strike, didn't they?
Yeah, pretty mental.
Back in the day.
But I haven't experienced that, so I can't really go much on that. I do like assault squads.
I'd imagine it's very powerful and quite scary. But like I say, we've not done it yet, but it's a viable tactic for an assault army is to drop assault squads in. Yeah, very good. I think Jack played with the boarding shield.
Yes.
So quite good to have
the combat shield.
Shooting, combat shield. That's it. Is it 6+ against shooting?
So 6+ is more all round kind of thing.
Yeah.
It was alright.
Not too bad, but again, with Horus Heresy, he only brought a 10-man squad, and you could feel that. If you'd have brought a 20-man squad, again, totally different way of playing.
I think Heresy is an infantry game.
Yeah,
it's an infantry
I would
game.
agree. And it
vehicles
requires a lot.
Infantry vehicles aren't the strongest that they've ever been compared to Horus Heresy version 1, where they were very strong and it took a lot more to it. So that's troops. HQs. What are the couple of go-to HQs that you like?
This is quite a complex subject because there's a lot within. So when you start getting into, you've got obviously your Praetors and stuff like that. Yeah. But when you start getting into your consuls, they all have very specific designated battlefield roles.
So your Praetor automatically unlocks your Rite of Wars because they've got it. So they're there for that. But I don't always rate a Praetor. I think there can be a bit of a glass cannon.
Master of the Legion, obviously you need it if you want to take Rites of War, which gives each Legion a lot of flavour. And I mean, it does make Horus Heresy a lot more interesting when it gives the Legion the taste that they need to make them that Legion. So you need something with Master of the Legion. But you know, a Delegatus is just as good, really. As long if you're just looking to get Master of the Legion, so you can play your Rites of War.
Yeah.
A bit cheaper.
Yeah, he's got some good bonuses for leadership and things like that. And I think the key thing with your HQs is that a lot of them get overlooked because they just looked at their stats, and sometimes the stats aren't important. It's what they actually do and how they buff other things.
War gear. Certain consoles have war gear that boosts a lot of stuff.
Well, we were talking about this. Yeah. So one that we think gets overlooked, which we love, is the Master of Signal. I think the Master of Signal is brilliant.
He's got a lot of war gear.
He's got loads of stuff.
You know, conferring +1 ballistic skill, allowing you to reroll deep strike. You know, if you're playing a deep striking army or an assault army, again, a Master of Signal is a brilliant choice, just because it allows you to drop where you want to drop.
Or getting that reroll, or also interfering with the other person's deep strike does that.
Whilst at the same time you can sit in a heavy support squad at the back and confer a +1 to hit with them, a +1 ballistic skill. So, you know, like blast cannons hitting on 2s.
It's a thing, isn't it? Yeah,
it's deleting stuff. Any heavy support squad with one of those next to it is pretty tasty.
In our last battle report, you'll see I took a Master Signal, stuck with me.
That very lucky one.
Oh, he's a watch it.
Yeah, watch it.
The guy's the dude. But he's not tooled up for combat, he's tooled up as a logistics guy, isn't he? He's there to help the army do its thing.
He has the sacred Nokia.
The sacred 3210.
Yeah, and he's there to get things that you want where you want them, and give a little bit of a buff to shooting. So I think combined, as long as because this is like thinking about their war gear and how it combines with your troops and everything, is useful. I mean, they're command options, so how do they affect the troops that you've got on the table is an important thing to think about.
So what about, obviously you love your combat, so what's another HQ total must for a combat army or anything like that?
Playing word bearers, I definitely think, so I take my 20-man despoiler squad. Now stick a chaplain in there.
Chaplains.
Chaplain's really good. Obviously, confers hatred everything. So re-rolling hits in the first round of combat.
Yeah.
But because obviously they have chainswords, if they're despoilers, they've got shred as well. So you imagine 20 of them hitting and then re-rolling to hit and then re-rolling to wound with shred. It
gets the job done, doesn't it?
Takes a while.
It does take a while.
It takes a while to roll through, but a lot of wounds it will cause, you know. With word bearers, obviously you look at the Rite of War, Dark Brethren. If you start stacking favours of the Dark Gods on them, they end up +1 strength, +1 weapon skill, and +1 movement. So as the game goes on, and this is why you need, early in the game, you need sort of long range shooting so you can start killing stuff. And it really starts to stand.
Yeah, I think the chaplain's just like an all round good and conferring stubborn. I think he's just
on any
good.
unit, on any generally, obviously assault units benefit greatly from that. And it's very word bearers thematic as well.
Yeah, I think he's always a good, solid choice.
Hatred, everything's good.
I quite like librarians. I think they're
not used them that much.
No, we've played some other games outside of the games that we've filmed, and I like librarians. They're not mega expensive, and they can add another element to your army. And again, depending how they are used.
Yeah, as a command, what you're looking to get them to do is benefit units. I mean, if you can, certain psychic powers make you stronger. You know, it can be devastating.
Yeah.
If you get your psychic powers off and you buff a unit, it can be devastating.
Yeah, there is always the risk. I mean, I think the librarian's esoterist. I mean, he's going to be different, obviously.
Yeah.
But that
I've played against an esoterist when I've had demons, and if there's any army you're playing against which does have demons, the esoterist has some psychic powers which can start lowering strength and toughness.
Yeah.
And so your big heralds and your big strong demons, I can't remember what it's called now.
I tell you what as well, like with the librarian,
hierarchs.
There's and it obviously it's another one of these things that you don't think about until it happens to you and it becomes really relevant. That power where they can turn off reactions. It suddenly becomes something so tiny.
Big on the charge, isn't it?
Yeah, well,
you can switch off
you can switch off people's reactions. Like that unit can't react to anything.
Yeah,
so for not, and it's like, oh my god, that's suddenly dead powerful.
Is it just a leadership check and then that's it, goes on?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's a bit more guaranteed than pinning. Pinning weapons are similar in assault armies, where if you can pin somebody and then charge them, you get despite of the Legion.
Yeah.
If you can just turn off reactions, that's.
I think it's these little keys, isn't it, to the HQs that you want. Obviously, like Legion Champion is a Legion Champion, gets a Paragon Blade, which is always good.
If he accepts a challenge, he makes the unit fearless as well, which is powerful, like really powerful. I had him in a. I remember we played a game once and I had him in a unit of Salamanders.
Yep.
And he accepted the challenge and then made that whole unit fearless. And they were just bog standard Legion Tactical Support Squad with flamers. With the right war, they were troops, line, all that. And they were just fearless, so they were just not going to leave even if they lost combat, which they didn't, even if they had, just the ability to keep them on that objective.
Is crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you've got, I mean, there are other HQs which that I've used that I quite like Forge Lord, mending dreadnoughts and vehicles, but also unlocking Thalax, I think is something really cool. We've got the Pravian, where you can take Vorax and Castellax. I like Vorax. Vorax is brilliant.
Yeah, I've not used a lot of those. One of our friends is Chris's building is Iron Hands, and I know that he's looking at bringing some automata to the table, and so stuff like even the mortar factors are cool.
Yeah, with the dreadnoughts. And stuff,
yeah. So I think stuff like that, because you're an Iron Warriors player, aren't you? So I guess you probably will find more use for them, I guess.
And again, it's like we said, that it's the legions and your HQ choices kind of like coincide with each other. Like it leads you in a certain way, and it can
think about a plan.
Yeah.
And then use the right console, because it will make your day a lot better.
Yeah.
Use them as they are intended, to give commands and to buff things.
Yeah.
As a general rule, each legion has its own thing that it does well.
Yeah.
So it's like, think about which console choice benefits your legion's main rule.
Yeah,
like
the
what
overall
it does well.
Yeah.
Because I think and you might actually be forced with some rights of war to take specific consoles.
Yeah, there is that as well.
Because with the Salamanders, one I was just talking about, that right of war, and I forget the name, but you have to take a Legion champion. So some rights of war will force you to take specifics, but if you are able to choose, I would say just have a little think before you spend the points. You want to get out of the model what it's supposed to do.
What it's supposed to do.
As best you can.
Like a Siege Breaker. Siege Breaker is another really good one. I use a Siege Breaker a lot. Unlocks Phosphex, unlocks...
That's horrible.
So like you stick him in a heavy support unit, gives them Sunder, and there's just things in the HQs you can really go deep into.
Let that inner
selection.
Iron Warrior out.
Oh,
I am within.
Oh,
and now I am without.
I'm so bitter and angry with everyone, and it's always other people's fault.
Yeah, that's it. Especially Imperial Fists. I play them, and you hate me, don't you?
Hate yellow. God, I hate yellow. Okay, so we talked about HQs for a bit. Let's talk about elites. Elite sections, and obviously this is a big one.
Yeah, it is.
And we're not going to go for every unit. We're just going to go for a few different ones. So let's start with the big one, Dreadnoughts. What are your feelings on Dreadnoughts? Are they a must for an army?
No, I've played loads of armies without them. They're not a must.
But do they make a difference?
Yes.
Yeah.
They're a competitive choice your opponent can't ignore.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time, I think whenever you bring in anything, elite units are scary.
Yes.
So your opponent's thinking, show.
Yeah.
Scary. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh look, there's a couple of dreadnoughts over there. Can't really ignore them.
But again, I mean, we if you go through our videos again, you'll see there's a game where I played. My Solar played Gary's Sons of Horus, where he brought 3 dreadnoughts, and it is sometimes about playing against them and understanding how to play against some units. Like dreadnoughts are scary.
I can run away from a Leviathan, but I struggle with a Contemptor.
Yeah, Contemptors and dreadnoughts. Contemptors are scary. How you tool them up like your World Eater's dreadnought is wicked. 2 power claw, 2 power fists, and he's
Oh,
going
in
to wreck
combat,
stuff. He's
yeah,
going to wreck stuff all day
combat,
long.
yeah. Just for being a world eater.
And they're an absolute bullet magnet as well. And if you can't take them out, you've wasted a load of shots.
Yeah, like you need stuff to deal with dreadnoughts as well. Toughness 7, they're standing, aren't they? They're not getting doubled out. I mean, there's only certain things that's going to double them out, so it's,
it's like, yes, you've got your
big
contender
firepower,
dreadnought,
but nothing more.
and then you've got your 10-man lascannon team. Are you going to put all your shots into this dreadnought? Yes, because you've got to, but you'd rather not have to.
You want them las cannons popping tanks,
Yeah.
you know.
And
I think, but
a 5+ invul, you might not get them. You might not get the shots that you need. Difficult. Dreadnoughts are. I like them. I just think they should be very limited.
yeah.
I don't like to see tons of them. Just it's my personal.
If you bring like
preference.
3 of them, it's a bit meta chasey. But then I chase meta sometimes, not only because I want to confer to people watching what that does on the table.
Yeah.
Because I mean, some people enjoy that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, we enjoy our narrative, but I think, you know, one thing I say about elites is every army has its cool little units, and it's just like that's the flavour of your legion. So
that elite slot is your bit for your legion bit, in it.
And again, go big or go home if you can.
Yeah.
Like for me, you know, like Imperial Fists have got a Stone Gauntlet, so you can, or there's another one where you can drop in. I can't remember what it's called, Sky Hunter Phalanx or something like that. And your Phalanx Warders can just drop in and teleport in, deep strike in. So that again, there's some crazy with your elites. There's some crazy rights of war around them as well.
I think that, and like you say, they are the flavour to your army. Like word bearers, Gal Warback.
Yeah.
Flavour. And then you've got my Ultramarines have just got my Caesarian. Flavour.
Yeah, I want to see them. I want to see them on the table.
They'll be on the next game. But it's like anything. Iron Warriors, you've got the Iron Circle. It's like that's where your flavour comes in.
Yeah, your specific legion flavour, and it's really that's what Horus Heresy is about, isn't it? Huge armies on the table, get the flavour of your legion on the table. I think that just shows really well in games, and it makes you feel like you have advantages too, and your opponent again cannot ignore those things as well. You know, it's like Gal Vorback. You can't
ignore them.
If you need something that's going to hurt them, and you know they're not going to run.
No, you can't ignore them
because they're corrupted, so they're not going anywhere.
What else in that elite slot then? Like, do you think is a really cool and not essential, but it's always one of those things where it's like, oh, I really like that. Like for me, it's apothecaries. Apothecaries are dead useful.
Cheap.
And you can bring loads of them.
Yeah, and make everything survive a lot better. Worth it. What is it? 45 points, 55 if you make them Artificer, which you don't really have to do, but you could just spam a load of 45-point apothecaries.
Yeah, I think you can literally take, I think, it might be up to 8 in one slot.
8 or 9. I know.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's
something that I've not done loads, but I think would be a good addition to any legion that you have.
Yeah, apothecaries they make sense to me.
And you could actually, this is something I've not really thought about, but you could actually paint your apothecaries in a single colour, not put any legion markings on them, and switch them between your different legions in games. Yeah. So you don't have to buy a different model for each legion that you're playing. I might start doing that because I think that makes a lot of sense.
Matt painted me a Xiphon, and when I wanted it, you've probably seen it on the channel, but I asked Matt to do it in like in a malicious colours so that I could use it for all my legions. Something generic. It looks very Battlestar Galactica, it must say.
Yeah, it's really cool.
But something that I can interswap. It was well, yeah. So elites, carrying on. Yeah. Is there any other units in that section that you can think of that are really good includes in an army? Like what is there? You've got things like the big one, Terminators.
Terminators, obviously. They work in any army. Again, though, here's the thing: when your Terminators are sort of bog standard, they really struggle against your special units.
Yes.
And stuff.
Yeah.
They're not. We kit them out for combat all we want, but I think if they come up against something that's Initiative 5, I mean, it makes all the difference. Initiative 5, Weapon Skill 5.
Weapon Skill 5
getting bad in it.
Is a thing, isn't it?
Yeah, and your Terminators don't like it at all. No. You've got to sort of keep them.
Weapon Skill 5 in the game is massive.
It changes everything in combat. Yeah, it really does. hitting them back on 5s, generally speaking.
Yeah, it's hard work.
It's hard to, it's hard to take.
A bog standard cataphracti Terminator squad are good for soaking up bullets, holding objective. Well, if you've got Pride of the Legion,
because they're elites, they can't. Yeah, we're with Pride of the Legion.
But they're a good solid unit, but will always struggle against the army elite version of whatever's going.
Yeah, but there's examples of specific war gear in some legions that makes cataphractis extra awesome.
Yeah.
Imperial Fist, we're looking at you.
Yeah. Looking at you again,
yeah,
yellow.
Again. So
God, I hate yellow.
Hate them. Yeah, so you get them Vigil Pattern Storm Shields on there.
God,
now
I
they've got a
yellow.
3+ invul.
Yeah.
3+ invul is crazy strong, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's
crazy
really, really strong.
It's crazy strong.
Although there was that one time where I tried to charge them in to a bunch of Justarians, and made me run away.
Yeah, they ran away.
So it is Horus heresy. It swings around about. Sometimes you have a unit that's dedicated to something. You jump in there, you try and do what it's supposed to be doing, and it gets beat in combat and runs off.
Yeah,
does happen.
Terminators for me, I like them. They're not as expensive as they used to be points wise.
No.
They're a solid unit to back up other stuff. 2 wounds is good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're good. They're a nice makeup of things, but if your army that you've got has got an elite version of a Terminator squad, you're gonna take the elite version.
Yeah,
of the
because often they are weapon skill 5, aren't
they? Iron Warriors. You're not really going to take regular ones. You're going to take Dominators.
I think Huskarls are weapon skill 5.
Yeah, they are
crazy.
Yeah.
And they cost.
And they've got Solarite power gauntlets, which is mental.
I think you have to pay for the Solarites, but I know they get the Vigil Pattern Storm Shields. They get Deep Strike included, so you don't actually have to pay for that. They're horrible.
Yeah, absolutely.
They really, really do the business, and I think they're about the same price as.
I think maybe one day we should go. We'll probably go through some. We'll go through the army elite units and talk about each one, because each one's got so many areas that you can look at and think that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
Anything else in the elites that we can think of? Rapier carriages. Quite like rapier carriages.
Rapier carriages. We've not seen them en masse. We're not using them en masse. I know that Chris is working on some for his Iron Hands, and I think they're a kind of I don't know. If you're going for rule of call, I think they just look really Iron Handsy. And I think they work for Iron Warriors as well. Yeah, just in terms of their aesthetic, and what they look like on the table.
Stick a siege breaker in, suddenly you've unlocked phosphex, and
they're just cool for certain legions.
They're just cool,
They look cool for certain legions. Spamming them I think spamming them would be quite funny for certain legions. They're not going to work for everyone. But yeah.
So, shall we move on to probably the contentious area of our army building?
Yeah.
That gets missed a lot because it's not great. Fast attack.
Fast attack. Okay. Let's have a little think.
Yeah. So, I go through. I like Xiphons. Xiphons are great.
Yep.
They die really quickly.
The flyno.
Flynos, as we call them.
They've got rubbish
just
armor.
A flying rhino. Good shot. I mean, they've got the good weapons. They're just not gonna.
I think flying stuff's in a bad place anyway in Horus Heresy, unless you're bringing something dedicated to shoot them out of the sky. Anything with Skyfire. You're alright then, but if you've not got anything like that, it can be a bit challenging, can't it? Fast attack, bikes and stuff are in a bad place. Flyers are in a bad place.
Bikes are terrible. Oh my god, bikes are terrible.
It's such a shame because White Scars are really cool.
It's not even just that. It's that they look really cool.
They are.
They should be really cool.
Tougher, I think.
But they're not.
They need to be tougher.
Like Outrider squads. I love my motorbikes. I love my Outrider squads, but they just die so quickly.
Again, I think we've only ever played them in small units.
Yeah.
I think I've only ever seen Alex. I think Alex brought 6 once.
So he bought 6 jet bikes,
and they still didn't do.
They died straight away.
Yeah. Another thing with bikes that I think we haven't done is hit and run, because hit and run's a strong rule. I think it's quite cool.
Yeah.
But you have to win combat, don't you? And then you can fly away. I think. I can't.
Well, it says at the end of combat you can just choose to zip
run,
out. It's past initiative check.
So
but
that can be quite cool.
You've got to kick them out there, haven't you? You've got to invest the points. You've got to invest the points into a toughness 4 unit, which gets double out, just dead easy.
Yeah.
And the same with jet bikes.
You could delete a unit with las cannons. You could delete a unit just like that, couldn't you? autocams couldn't do it, but they are rending. So
I'm not. The fast attack slot is sometimes you'll be building your army and you'll be like, oh right, I've used up all my other bits. I've got points left. And
is there anything in fast attack?
Yeah, is there anything in fast attack?
Saber tanks.
Like,
Saber tanks are probably the coolest.
They do look cool. I've
them.
not had an opportunity to see them play properly.
No, we'd like to bring some to the table at some point so we can sort of see what they're like. They're actually 80 points each, I think. If you've got Neutron Blaster on, it's like an extra 20. And then they get cheaper, each successive one gets cheaper.
Yeah.
I think there's 70 points after that. So it's actually very, I think it's affordable. It's still armour. They're not very well armoured, but they are fast attack choices, so that's to be expected.
Let's have a look here, see if there's anything else in the old book where we can think of anywhere that we've missed. Seeker squads.
Not played with them a lot actually, but I think for certain,
Alpha Legion.
Your Alpha Legion would be really good with a load of Seeker squads.
Yeah.
But again, are they skirmish?
Yeah, they are. I think
So they have a much. You can spread them out a lot more, can't you?
Yeah, it talks about the sabres, javelins.
Javelins are brilliant.
Javelins.
Yeah.
Yes.
Expensive models, not a plastic version yet.
That's why I haven't invested in them. Probably just because.
I think
actual monetary costs.
If there was a plastic javelin, I'd probably spam them and start doing some White Scars action, because I think for White Scars they are a good option just because they're a lot tougher. You know, and then even White Scars have their own specific elite version. I can't pronounce it. But the White Scars could field them, and they're even tougher. So it's like it's if they had a plastic javelin kit, I'd definitely be interested in bringing some to the table in a Legion. I think White Scars would probably be my choice.
Yeah.
Or Raven Guard.
Yeah.
I think they work well in Raven Guard as well.
What about a Storm Eagle gunship transport, flying transport?
Brilliant. 22 capacity. It's a lot. Obviously deep strike.
Armour 12.
Armour's bad.
Armour 12. Why the Armour 12?
Because if your opponent hasn't brought any dedicated Skyfire stuff, you can just it's not like it's a very expensive way to deliver troops to the table.
We're not going to talk about the Dreadclaw, are we? Because we've all agreed that it should.
I have a bunch of Dreadclaws, but I can think of I can think of only a few ways to use them off the top of my head, and none of them are. Well, certainly not good for assault armies because they're not assault vehicles, which is mad. To me that they're not. But what we figured is because they've got these big legs on them and they land. Then the doors open. You have to jump out. It's not like impact reactive doors where when a drop pod hits the floor, it opens up and everyone just piles out. So it's not.
We think there's a reason, but they're just
expensive in points to say it's not an assault vehicle as well. What are they? 115, something
like
around there. That's a lot to spend on a transport.
On a transport that isn't going to give you a lot.
No. The only thing we could think about with them is
tactical support squads.
Yeah, tactical support squad in it. Move it around, let it shoot at something. Move it somewhere else, let it shoot at something. But even that, 115 points on top of your tactical support squad just to move them around a bit. I mean, it could be a valid tactic, but it seems a bit janky and long-winded, really.
Yeah, it does.
To get them somewhere. I mean, you've got other options like your Proteus and stuff like that. You could stick them in. But it's a lot of points for a Proteus. Often you want to be bringing, I think, your elite units and your cool choices and your Proteuses and your Spartans. You don't want to be sticking a tactical unit in there.
Fast attack slot it's underused because one, I think it's an expensive slot. Everything seems to cost a lot of money.
A lot of the models are still forgeable ones, aren't they, really?
It seems to cost a lot.
Expensive.
So then you kind of
lovely models, but it's costing you a fortune.
And then there's other stuff that you'd rather spend your money on and your points, and it's normally the heavy support slot, isn't it?
Heavy supports.
It's normally filled up pretty quick, straight away.
In general, you know,
what are you
blanket rule with heavy support squads is as early on in the game they're causing damage. Which is why we were talking earlier about the importance of balance in your list. You want some long range firepower, you want some assault, you want a little bit of everything, something for your opponent to think about, that your opponent can't ignore, but at the same time, if your opponent ignores this, there's also this. And in the first turns of the game, that's where you usually see the most bang for your buck with your heavy support squads, which are, to be honest, for the points, heavy support squads are probably an auto include in most armies.
Yeah.
Because early in the game, if you don't have anything, because I've had this where me and my brother, we went to play Warhammer World, and they asked him, because my brother's fairly new to it, and then they asked him if he wanted the huge table. We went on the huge table, and I've not brought anything with long range firepower for my word bearers.
Yeah.
This was the first time I played one of their Rights of War, and it was an apocalypse table. It was massive. There were 4 of us playing, but it took me 3 turns to get into combat, and I was running too. I had bolt pistols. I had stuff that was carrying bolt pistols. I couldn't shoot at anything, and for 3 turns it was so infuriating because all it was move, try and hide, move, try and hide. So now I could have used like deep strike stuff, but I wanted to try something different with my word bearers. But I remember in that game thinking, wow, perhaps our deployment should have been a bit bigger.
Yeah.
But ultimately,
variation, isn't it?
yeah, if I'd have had something in that game that had some long range firepower, I'd at least felt involved. But I didn't in that game. I didn't feel like, and it was frustrating. It wasn't anyone else's fault. It was me. I didn't bring balance to my list, so I had no long range firepower at the time.
So we say is every support slot, a nice heavy support unit of 10 guys is a must, pretty much. It doesn't really matter what weapon it is either, does it?
Not really. No, it's a must. It depends what you're going for. If you're going for anti-infantry, Volkite weaponry, autocannons are quite good.
Yeah. Or if you've got an anti-tank or anti-elite, should we say? Like las cannons are dead good against Terminators.
Anything.
Yeah.
Pretty much, isn't it?
Well, you're limited to 10 shots, where if you've got, obviously, if you've got 10 Volkites, then you've got 50 shots. And it's like...
Yeah. Volkites shred infantry. We saw that.
Yeah.
We saw that before. We've seen that. Just 5 of them, isn't it? Volkite Cavalry.
If you watch it, you'll see that in the battle report.
Give that a watch.
Very good.
It will give you an idea
Example
of what heavy support squads can do.
Yeah, both sides.
We actually both had.
Yeah, I took a 5-man Volkite. Matt took a 10-man las cannon, and you get to see how they play off against each other.
Yeah.
And
heavy
why they're
squads.
useful.
Things like your Spartan are really points heavy. Like you're looking at with a flare shield, it's like 400 points or something.
Yeah.
Now, unless you're taking something that you have a plan around inside that Spartan, I wouldn't waste the points because I think it's just that's a lot of points to put into.
And really, it's what 5 las cannon shots.
It's not a battle tank. It's not something that's like supposed to be blowing stuff up. It's to deliver something where you want it to be and make sure it gets there.
Yeah.
So with a lot of assault armies, you can stick a butt ton of Terminators in one or whatever you want to do.
Again, something like that is dependent on the method that your army is going to work towards.
Yeah, you've always got to think about like, what am I trying to do? You don't want to waste money either. This is a financial concern as much as it is a tactical one. And you know, plan your list out. Have a plan for what you're doing, and you'll save money. Not just you'll save money. You'll save a lot of effort.
Yeah.
Because I find a lot of time when people start out. I mean, if we talk to beginners. Then the people that start out are just like, those models are awesome, we get them.
And that is cool.
Buy a load of models because it's exciting.
That is cool.
But then you get them on the table and you're like, ooh, it doesn't really do what I wanted it to do.
It's a hard interaction, isn't it, for someone that's new? Oh, they look really pretty. And then you don't want to say to them, they are really pretty, but in the game they are absolute dog poo.
Yeah, because I don't like red butchers.
They're terrible.
I don't like them at all, and I'm just like, oh god,
I
feel like they could be so much better.
Yeah,
but they're
terrible.
They're not. They're a glass cannon, aren't they? Really?
They're normally dead. You don't even get to use them before they're already dead.
The lore behind them, I love how cool the concept is, but it's just like I don't know if I'll ever field them.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with buying the stuff that you like and using it because it's pretty and because you enjoy it. That's all good. But if you want to get more out of the game, then you've got to build around it as well.
Yeah.
Like, it's all right having your pretty unit that's nice and everything. It's like, oh, they're cool. But there's a game around it as well that you want to feel involved in and play and feel that you've got a bit of a chance of interaction. So learning about balance and things and that. Like if we keep talking about the heavy support slot, things like your tanks options, there's loads of different tanks and some are good, some are bad in different circumstances. Your Scorpius Whirlwind is really good.
The Scorpius is great against infantry.
Really good.
Like I said, it's an infantry game. You can break somebody off a an objective with a single shot. I mean, barrage, rocket barrage, these things are like, you know, pinning, breaching 4+.
Yeah, it's just really good.
Make some strength
8.
Make them strength 8.
Yeah.
So it's doubling out Marines. You can delete units.
Yeah.
You know. And
but, and again, it's
if
like...
you're really unlucky, I think you were unlucky before with them, but that luck of the dice is there. I've had entire units broken by a single shot from one of those things. Yeah. And they're not that expensive.
No, they're not. And you can take squadrons, which is a bit gamey. Like a squadron of 3 would be...
powerful against anything infantry-wise. You just...
But you can. But so, like, there are lots of tank options for your heavy support. And don't be put off by what other people say or do. Like, we can say, we've had no luck with the Kratos, have we? Well, they're terrible. But they can be really good.
For us, they are.
For us, they've not done very well at all.
Yeah.
But for some armies, they're like, oh no, it was brilliant. He might have had the best experience in the world.
Never seen them perform very well.
No.
Really. I think have you and Jack used them?
Yeah, we have. Yeah. And
they've just not really done anything.
Again, it's the
such
look
a cool
of the
looking tank.
Yeah, they are the best looking tank in
really
Heresy.
Looking.
But yeah.
Again, expensive if you're not getting anything out.
Your heavy support slot, you get 3. Obviously, you get 3 slots in it. You've got to be really thinking, because
you really do.
Yeah, okay, you've got your heavy support squad. There's one. You might want to take a Leviathan, which is amazing. So there's another one gone.
Yeah. And
then suddenly you're like, oh, but I wanted a Dreadio as well, or something else, and then they're gone.
Yeah, you run out of heavy support slots quickly.
And
I mean, I often think about heavy support slots as in, what am I going to do early in the game?
Yeah.
I want to affect that early because they also draw a lot of fire, don't they? So, you know, they're going to do damage early, if you get first turn especially, but also they're a prime target to return fire at.
Yep.
They're also, you know, and with heavy supports, you have to think about what you're shooting at as well. Because if you're shooting at something that has like for instance, you look at the Volkite culverins. If I shoot my last cannons at a Volkite culverin unit and they return fire, I'm dead.
Yeah,
I'm not going to survive.
Well, we did this. So me and Matt played a game of Warhammer where he had his Imperial Fist. He had 10 heavy bolters, and I shot him with my 7 auto cannons. Matt returned fire and wiped me out.
Gone.
Wiped me out, and I killed like shots. 2 of yours.
It's 40 shots.
It was. Oh my god, that broke me.
But that's the Imperial Fists are good with bolter weapons in general because they hit on 2s.
That was
crazy. It's sick. It's pretty horrible. Yeah. But they're a bit of an auto include for Imperial Fists, to be honest.
Yeah.
They're the heavy support squad I would take with them, just for their ability to hit on 2s.
Yeah, there's so many shots.
Imperial Fists are crazy good. They're probably a bit too good. Might need a bit of a nerf.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I
think auto weapons hit on 2s is a bit sick.
All auto weapons, I think, is the thing. If it would have just been bolters,
yeah,
it's different. But all auto weapons, I think, is too much.
Yeah, because a lot of things just come
as auto
standard with auto weapons.
Yeah, like your Sicaran, suddenly it's an auto weapon, so it's hit on 2s. It's like, whoa. You Punisher, it's hit on 2s. It's like
I haven't got a Punisher in my Imperial Fist because I'm trying to keep.
I hate yellow.
I'm trying to keep my friends.
I hate yellow.
Dang.
Yeah. It also in the heavy support, like was just mentioned, is the Leviathan. Probably the scariest unit in the game, apart from a Primarch. Because toughness 8 is.
My plan against Leviathans is generally. Run
away
and make it chase you because it won't catch you.
No.
They are slow. So if you've got something, Marines are moving faster than it. If you can get away from it, you know. I mean, if it deep strikes in, like we've had games where Jack brought one, didn't he?
Yeah, Jack brought one.
With
that drop pod.
It's a horrible. It's a really strong choice. That your opponent, it's going to break most things it's hitting, isn't it? It's just crazy. I think the only reason that they stood there was because of Eidolon, really, in that game.
But watch that. It's on the
on the
channel
too.
You can be able to see that
out. But yeah, there are some strong choices.
Heavy supports are very. It's one of the coolest slots, but it gets taken up so quickly.
Yeah.
So you've got to be really precise in what you're doing.
Yeah. I want to do max damage early game.
Yeah.
That's heavy support.
Yeah.
Or if I'm delivering something later in the game, that again heavy support. So you might want to do damage early from a range, heavy support, or you might want to get something
Yeah,
later in the
something
game to
heavy,
break something.
Yeah.
Heavy support
Like a
is there as
Leviathan,
well.
like, or whatever. Just
Now,
trundling
yeah,
off
if you're
the
trying to
board.
deliver something to break your opponent later in the game, then you're looking at your transports to get stuff there.
Yeah.
But yeah, because of the rights of war that I play with some of my legions, I go for the early damage dealers, so las cannons and stuff like that, just to try and buff things. Because certain legions work well that way.
So we're looking at the army as a whole.
Yep.
As we look at balance, and we've got all these slots.
Mm-hmm.
As you can see, as we've talked about, there's so options and choices. How do you go about putting that together into an army? Like, when you sit down and do you go, right, I kind of already know some elements of what I'm doing, and then do you fill up from there, or do you kind of go the opposite way around? And
Horus Heresy is a game that you want, when you've picked your legion, I think you need to look at the rights of war, what that legion does. You don't have to choose that right of war,
no,
but I think understanding rights of war will tell you a little bit about how you're going to build it. You know, there's things that you are compulsory that you have to have. So your 2 troops and your HQ. Now, it's going to be assault, it could be long range shooting, you know, but there's always a theme, isn't it, generally speaking? And your rights of war will tell you a little bit about that. But then, yeah, you're building around those. I think when I started, I was just like, I'll just get a load of models.
Yeah.
And the first one I did with Imperial Fist, I was just like, I'm just going to get a load of models that I think are cool.
Yeah.
But then I started to learn how the game works, and it's a very well written rule set, Horus Heresy, in that I always found it feels intuitive more.
Yeah.
But I think that's because I'm an older gamer.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm an older war gamer, and I used to play Warhammer Fantasy Battles and, you know, old 40k and stuff like that. And I think it retains some of that nostalgic feel in Horus Heresy. I think for the older gamer, because we're all in our 40s now, so
yeah.
Ah!
What?
So it's time flies when you're having fun. But we are now we're at that age where when we were younger, the games that we were playing were very similar to Horus Heresy. I think the rule set is very similar.
Yeah.
So it's got a nostalgic feel, but although it seems more complicated at a glance, I actually don't think it is. I feel like it's more intuitive.
Yeah.
And it just, I don't know. That might be a byproduct of the games I used to play. My mind still has retained some of that. But I think, you know, that's the thing that makes it really cool for me.
It's a good system, isn't it? And I think that the army building, list building is part of the game. I really like list building.
Yep.
I think it's a really good element of the game to make things different.
Yeah.
And then you can diving into the lore and creating the lists out of that, I think is really cool. It's just a really good,
standardized as well.
Yeah.
That all the legions have, everything has the same
rules.
rules.
It's like a line that they all kind of follow, and then they just go.
I would say the hardest part. The hardest part is the traits of your weapons and special rules.
Yeah.
That's the hardest part because there's so many. But once you know what they are,
once you
familiarise yourself with the special rules that you have, and that's the hardest bit. I personally think the hardest bit is what's concussive do. What's I don't know, rending?
Yeah, rending.
Early on,
rending's different from breaching, and getting those bits. Isn't it?
That's the hardest bit, in my opinion. Everything else is pretty standard, isn't it? Marines, they move in 7. They've got strength, toughness 4, weapon skill 4 generally, leadership 8 on your sergeant, 7 on everything else, and that's across all legions, isn't it? It's like, you know, there's things that can make that +1 to that, or
you've got your little elements which make them different, but genuinely there's like a line that they all follow, so that keeps things fair. Obviously, in another video we'll talk about kind of a tier list of where we believe certain legions are in the fact of how easily they are to play. Like as we've talked about, Imperial Fists are a pick up and play, aren't they?
Very
easy to play.
I think personally,
they've got everything at their disposal. They've got close combat units. They've got
loads of toys.
Long range units. They've got a bit of. Whereas you've got
like, they're good with all of it.
Like an army like Alpha Legion, you've got to really think about it because their stuff isn't strong, but they've got good rules and you've got to utilise, and
they require you to think like Alpha is.
Yeah, you've got to turn your head onto it.
Now, That's another thing I love about the rules, actually, is that the legions, the way that legions play, and this is something that I've noticed that I think is really cool. It's very like on a deep level. The legions often play how the Primarchs think, which is quite fun. Like Dawn is very regiment. He's very on it with everything, and he's a consummate commander, and he's all about discipline and that. And the Imperial Fists play like that. They're good with everything because they train hard with everything. And then you get Alfarius, who likes to trick his opponent, and the Legion has lots of tricky things that you want to take advantage of. You know, there's all sorts of cool stuff.
It is very well, and I think that when it comes to selecting your Legion or who you want to play, be drawn into what you like. Like for my first army was, my first army was Sons of Horus because of the books, because I liked alpha striking. In the first rule set, you could do a tip of the spear and everything would deep strike in, and it'd be mental, and it'd be Horus deep striking, everybody just bam. And
what was that like?
I mean, I took that to my first ever Horus Heresy game.
Was that version 1?
Yeah,
so
that
was
the first
edition.
The first edition, I built
a bit different, but
Sons of Horus list, which I took to the Throne of Schools event. I'd never played a Horus Heresy game. I came 7th.
That's good. That's really
because
good.
My list was just like, and I didn't even mean to do it.
No.
I'd just come up with a list which was like, oh my god, this is dead strong.
Yeah, it just worked. But again, Horus Heresy players don't seem to be overly competitive anyway. It's more you had fun, didn't you, with everyone that you were playing? It wasn't.
I got voted best sportsman. Because I just had a lot of fun with it.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, and that's really what we're about, isn't it? Really, I think.
I had the most fun with it. But then after that, I went to Iron Warriors and built them as an artillery army because I just loved it.
Thematic.
Yeah, I was like, God, they love just bombing the crap out of people.
Yeah. You feel like you're playing with the flavour.
You sit behind your wall and you're like, just bomb them. Yeah.
And the worst legions are often the ones that don't confer that through the rules as well. Like Dark Angels are really strong. They're really strong.
They can do everything.
Yeah.
Very good and do everything.
You can really customise them all.
I think we definitely do a video on our feelings of each legion and how they play and why they're strong or why they're not strong. As a thing. I think that would be...
How much of them fit the narrative too of Horus Heresy and what they are in the stories. I think that's an important connection to make with them.
Absolutely.
So I think some legions suffer from not representing themselves as they do in the stories. And ultimately that leads to a less immersive game, I guess.
And a lack of seeing the armies as well. Like how many White Skulls armies do you actually see?
Never seen one.
Not a lot.
Never seen one.
If they don't play very well, if you're not going to get the enjoyment of them playing at least reasonably.
Tom wanted to do them. My friend Tom wanted to do them, but then very quickly realised I don't want to paint all that white because white's a difficult one to paint.
That as well.
Which is a shame because it would have been nice, but I can see why he's gone actually.
We've got on the channel. Between us, we've got a lot of armies between us. A lot, and there's armies.
Always working on it too.
There's armies that you haven't even seen yet. Your salamanders. I've got some custodes ready to go.
It's a slow process because you've got to paint all these things to get them on the table. Can't play without painted balls.
No,
can't do it.
Got to paint them.
So that's also what we'll insist on, isn't it? So, but that's going to take time. But we'll have it done. Look forward to it.
So, that's me and Matt then for today in our little chat. It's been really interesting.
Thanks for tuning in.
I've learned some things today. I think a little bit about like unit selection and stuff like that. It's kind of things thinking about it. Join us soon for the next part of the Fall of Armatura campaign.
It's going to be sick.
Oh, it's going to be crazy. So in the next game, obviously, we're playing the next in the story, where it's the Velika Junction, where Angron's going to turn up. It's going to be a big game, and Matt and his World Eaters and Word Bearers going to get Angron for free in that game. The ravening madman himself.
Very tasty.
And my Ultramarines are just going to have to hold their ground and do what they can.
No chance.
We'll see.
We'll see.
But look forward to seeing you. If you've got any topics or anything that you'd like us to discuss, or if there's anything you'd like us to talk about, or if you leave a comment or some questions you'd like us to answer, we're not experts by any means, but we love.
Open to learning.
Yeah,
Let us know where we get things wrong as well.
Yeah. Yeah, in the games
We do that.
And we get that. I've had plenty of comments of like, we've missed this. It's like, that's cool.
We appreciate the feedback.
We do, absolutely.
Helps us get better, doesn't it?
It does.
Improve.
It does, absolutely. And we like hearing from you. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
It feels good. Yeah, so I hope to see you soon. And thank you, Matt.
Thanks, Simon.
And Tabletop Divinitatis. This has been coffee, tea, and some cake, and all things heresy. And we'll see you next time.
Bye bye.
Peace out. I've got to get up and turn it off.